a homeward-bound cavalry. If you're going down the highway, the last thing you want is to be surprised. It should be a normal, routine drive. For these commuters, though, they were treated to a show with their drive. Galloping down the road with a cop on her tail is one very freedom-loving cow. She turns down the median without a care in the world, probably just enjoying the wind in her face for once. How can you blame her? There's no bigger, greener pasture to roam in. Massive gas explosion. When things go south, sometimes there's nothing you can do but take cover. This fiery pipeline explosion was a devastating disaster for the Alabama community.
I've never seen anything like this.
The deadly blast exploded deep and black up into the air, darkening the skies as they fought the blaze. Unfortunately, while making repairs, something caused an explosion.
Sound like they have some injuries. I think we may need to start additional rescue units.
This small community lost its gas main, which had to be cut, meaning this small community saw prices they never could have imagined. Attack Squirrel mix-up. What's the most insane combination of words you could put together? Would it be meth-fueled attack squirrel? Mickey Polk was faced with some insane allegations of, you guessed it, exactly that.
He's only 10 and a half months old, but he's not a trained attack squirrel. And he's not on meth, I'm pretty sure. Better not find out he's on meth anyway.
Police were looking for him, banging down the man's door with a warrant. What they believed to be a drugged-up, dangerous animal was instead the man's loving pet. He doesn't love everyone, of course. The man describes his small friend as mean at one point. And if you had people filming you from inside of a cage, don't you think you'd be a little mean too? Alabama police stumble on terrifying scene. No matter how normal a place looks like, you can always be surprised.
We're very appreciative to the people that actually came forward.
Not only was a girl trapped and kidnapped in a seemingly average home, but authorities raided her and found something much worse.
She's a hero, gave her medical attention, and she's safe now, and so we want to keep her that way.
She got to safety, but two of the kidnapper's previous victims did not. They found the evidence of his past crimes, shocking the small community not once but twice with the gruesome details of it. We can't go too far into the details ourselves, but sometimes doors should remain closed. Unfairly profiled pastor. Living anywhere in the South can be a minefield, depending on who or where you are. This pastor was watering his neighbor's flowers and acted kindness when police with body cams approached the man. Despite being the homeowner and having every right to be there, the officers responded to a call about a suspicious person in the yard.
You live here?
No, I don't live here.
Okay. They're saying that this vehicle is not supposed to be here and you're not supposed to be here.
Who's saying that?
They called about it. I don't know who called.
I'm supposed to be here. I'm Pastor Jennings. I live across the street.
You're Pastor Jennings?
Yes, I'm looking out for their house while they gone.
Okay.
While they fly.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Now, do you have like ID and all?
Oh, no, man. I'm not gonna give you no ID.
Why not?
I ain't did nothing wrong.
Well, you look, listen. I'm not saying do nothing wrong.
Dog, listen,
there's a suspicious person.
Look, I used to be a police officer in Goodwater.
While it's obvious he was profiled, the officers take it a step beyond that, despite a neighbor coming out and vouching for him. The officers still wrongfully detained the man. The pastor eventually dropped his plans to file a discrimination lawsuit, and though he would have had a case, it seems he might live in a small-minded community. Probably not much of a surprise in that decision. InmatesWhirlwind escape. If you don't keep an eye on them, prison inmates can be very creative in their escape. There's nothing quite like freedom, it seems. It seems this man managed to seduce his officer, maintaining a special relationship together. The inmate, a murder suspect, escaped from jail with her help. While exiting the building, the officer, a police sheriff, took him in the back of her car and the two of them drove off the premises as if nothing had happened. It's so slow that surely someone could have caught them, but they got away unscathed, putting him in the real driver's seat of a hazardous situation. Challenger from Huntsville. The Challenger tragedy was massive for many people watching the broadcast at the time. The noon newscast of WHNT-TV Channel 19 ran a special report in the direct aftermath of the shuttle destruction. The world was left shocked as this broadcast went wide and far. Many classrooms had wheeled their television sets to show their students the momentous moment. As the shuttle goes up, it wobbles just a bit in the air, seemingly straightening out, but less than a minute and a half in the air and a malfunction takes the whole world by surprise. The smoke plume gets thicker and thicker. Just as the camera zooms in, the explosion rips things apart from within. This was the clip shown to all of Huntsville, Alabama, as it was the only station carrying the footage from the live launch. Now, how many people do you think might have been watching? Flash Mob Thieves. As a convenience store worker, you never know your next customer. Sometimes it's travelers, sometimes it's your regulars, sometimes it's a flash mob of thieves grabbing bottles and running out the front door. While not a violent altercation, this certainly is one of the more unique ones. One by one, the people pile in, ambushing the small store as the lot of them run in and out with their boon. Eventually, the cashier runs, trying to stop people, then trying to lock them in, and finally being bulldozed by an adamant thief. This group managed to go to multiple locations, burglarizing around $400 worth of beer overall. Sometimes things move quicker than you can respond to them, and you're stuck witnessing a flash mob of robbers making their way through your place of work. Helicopter drops like a fly. Quiet communities can sometimes capture the brutality of a mistake. You'll be going about your day as if nothing could go wrong, and all of a sudden disaster comes tearing through. This Nest camera, settled nicely at the top of a resident's garage, captures the moment as a military helicopter malfunctions, dropping dead like a stone out of the sky. It takes a moment, but a giant plume of black smoke rises, indicating the explosion has taken place. The following clip from a better angle catches the aftermath of the disaster. On the side of the road, the black smoke plume billows out, obstructing the view of drivers on their daily commute. Clear that whatever did survive that crash might not want to have after that point. Confident robber takes all. Your home can be the most terrifying place under the right circumstances. A man waltzes into this Montgomery home confidently, as if he owns the place. Unfortunately, the dog is caged, meaning the path to stealing the TV he sets his eyes on is clearer than ever. This Nest camera catches the devious act and documents the man's path through the home. He's joined soon by an accomplice as the two likely clear out the residence. A question for you all down below. If you came home to this footage, what would you do? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to know how you'd handle a robbery like this. Fire fights back. So many things can go wrong in the blink of an eye, and you might never see it coming. The firefighters in this home were just doing their job, and it should have gone smoothly. A few minutes in, however, and the home suddenly explodes, taking the first responders up into a massive flame. The cause of the fire wasn't determined, only that it happened and no one saw it coming. Scary to think that things can go south on a dime like that, especially for the guys running face first into the flames. Unarmed robbers strong-arms a bank. Bank robberies are anything if not unpredictable. This person of interest in this robbery wasn't even armed when he took hold of an Alabama Avenue bank. Confidently, he walks into the bank, crowding the teller as he steals what he wants from the vaults. He was dressed in a dark hoodie with a high-visibility vest on. While they didn't catch him, they did catch several good shots of his face. While he might not have been armed, he certainly did get what he wanted. Sometimes enough confidence will really get you exactly what you want. Storm Chaser's delight. It's best not to go out during instances of extreme storms. As they tried to rush home, this vehicle was unlucky enough to be caught in a massive tornado. You'll probably be fine if you can get yourself safe and underground. However, this Alabama touchdown was far too fast. The person recording catching the horrors playing out around them. Buildings, fixtures, vehicles, trees, and more go flying around the car, uprooting all life as it runs through the area. Luckily, the driver seems to make it out okay. They might not be safe, but they're left mostly alone as the storm's worst parts pass through. Whether this is the eye or the storm has genuinely passed, their best bet was staying firmly inside the vehicle that might have saved their life. The least convenient shift. Robberies rarely ever go exactly one way or another. There's so many factors at play, it's hard to pin down one single path to go on. This Alabama convenience store was in the middle of a long night when a man walked in casually into the store. Unlike many thieves and robbers, he fails to cover his face. He's exposed and vulnerable, and the camera clearly catches his looks. He sets his gun down on the table and gets what he wants. Luckily, all things went relatively well, everything considered. No injuries were reported, just maybe a bruised ego and a ruined night. Earthquake shakes things up. If it's not one thing, it's another. Alabama can get hit by hurricanes, tornadoes, and even 3.8 magnitude earthquakes under the right circumstances.
I was sleeping in good this morning, doing my morning ritual, watching an hour of TikTok, and all of a sudden my bed just said, the blinds was moving, everything was moving. I thought there was something under the bed, trying to get out.
This CCTV clip caught an extremely shaky morning for residents of this Florida, Alabama-line community. The cashier is sitting off to the side on her phone, unaware of what's coming. The bottles on the shelf move in an ominous wave, a harbinger of things to come. Thankfully, it wasn't enough to do any real damage at this location, but hopefully no one asked for their cocktail stirred rather than shaken. Teenage robber runs for his life. Not every robbery suspect is confident or knows what they're doing. This underage suspect was caught after robbing a Dollar General in Montgomery County, eventually caught in a nasty shootout by a witness who trailed after the kid. Hospitalized, the teen would probably not forget this one anytime soon.
Don't you jump that fence! Hey, Charlie, get him! Get him, Charlie!
The small community didn't tolerate that sort of behavior, strict against violence and gun misuse, especially when it's in the form of vigilante justice. Abandoned Asylum, Krull. Sometimes the coolest places are also the ones you really shouldn't visit. Urban explorers are always pushing boundaries over where they should and shouldn't go, and it seems like the second list has gotten smaller and smaller over the years. They walk onto the property, damaged, ransacked, and fall into years of disuse. It looks like something out of an early 2000s horror game. The scariest thing about this is probably the darkness. You can hardly imagine what this might have looked like in the early 1920s because it's been torn and destroyed enough to be very nearly unrecognizable. The YouTuber shows off a large, long room, which was likely the recreation hall or cafeteria, clearly built to house dozens of people at a time. The mental hospital was a remnant of one of the most haunted places in the state, meaning they really needed to get their hands on some sage after a visit like this.
We're probably where they fired the furnaces, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did cremate their own.